The exciting part of our event is the pre-placement talk by BNY, represented by Shri Suswar Ganu. I would like to call Shri Ganu upon the stage to begin with the pre-placement talk.
So first things first, what should you expect? I'm going to talk not more than 40 minutes at max, out of which I hope to cover in about 20 to 25 minutes what we want to talk about BNY, who we are, what we do, what are our, we don't need that, we can get to the next slide directly. What are our revenue sources? How do we make money? How important we are in the global market and ecosystem? What are the roles that we hire for, and what are the opportunities for graduates that join BNY, and what does the future look like? I'll also hopefully talk a little bit about what are our expectations for people that we want to hire as early career talent into BNY. I'm then going to get all of my panelists up here on the stage to introduce themselves a little bit, because each one of them has had an illustrious career and they have achieved multiple really amazing feats that I want each one of them to talk a little bit about, a couple of minutes or so, and then we'll take questions. Is the structure all okay? If you want to change the structure, you can tell me now, because if you don't, then this is what you're going to hear. Anything else that people are expecting? Okay, I'll take silence as no. In which case, my name is Suswar Ganu, as she very kindly introduced. I've been with BNY for about 4 years. Before this, I've done multiple stints at other fintech organizations, investment banks, regulatory bodies, regulatory organizations, including the Reserve Bank of India, and so on and so forth. That's my introduction. Outside of working as a software developer for multiple fintechs, now taking care of investment management, wealth management, Pershing and Pershing X, and I'll talk about what each of these things are. I also look at early career talent hiring, not as an HR or people business partner, but more as a sponsor for early career talent. So I've been to more than 30 to 35 colleges across the country, and I do see amazing talent like all of you. I get to meet them, and in that sense, I feel quite privileged, where I get to understand nuances between how one academic institution differs from the other, but in a way, everybody is striving for the same common goal. Outside of that, I'm also representative of the VetNet or Veterans Network at the firm. What VetNet means in simplicity is our armed forces officials who have served for a period of time either in the Indian Army or Navy or the Air Force, after they take a retirement, and some of them take retirement after 10 years, some of them take retirement after 5 years, 15 years, and so on and so forth. We try to find ways by way of which we can employ them as a second career into the organizations. And I'm proud to say that, and we'll talk about those employee initiatives that we have, but I'm proud to say that we have multiple people from the Indian Armed Forces doing amazing work at BNY now, not just in India, but globally. So that's what I do. We'll talk about BNY a little bit, but before that, and I know some of you were part of the morning session where I talked about what BNY does and how important it is to the overall financial marketplace, but I'll call out some statistics to connect the dots. So first and foremost, when we think about banking, and I'm making an assumption here that all of you have one or the other interaction with the financial marketplace. Most common, one would have a savings bank account. You might also have a liabilities account called a loan account, either for taking an educational loan, or you would have seen one of your relatives or friends or somebody also talk about like home loans, car loans, personal loans. So that is liabilities. The other side is assets. But there are also other complex transactions like primary market issuances. This time around, I'm going to do a quick raise of hands so that I know the demographics of this population. How many of you actively look at secondary markets or stock markets? That's equity markets. How many of you look at that is my first question. By the way, the way to raise a hand, and this is more important for people who have gone through the COVID pandemic, right? Like some basics have to be taught. The way to raise a hand is take your hand, raise it, and say, That's it, right? That's the way to raise a hand. So how many of you have either interacted or actively participate in equity markets? That's amazing. How many of you have a demat account? Wow. The number of people who have a demat account is more than the number of people who actively trade in equity markets. So clearly you're doing more things. How many of you understand fixed income bonds or trade in them? Okay, I can see 1, 2 hands raised. How many of you know derivatives, futures, options? How many of you trade in options? That's it. I'd expected more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both call put options. Do you do both of them? Excellent. So that's great. Anybody trades in commodities? Oil, wheat, wood? No? Sure. No. Listen, I have been surprised multiple times at institutions in India where students have been exposed to these kind of complex transactions. So I never make those assumptions. That's wonderful, by the way, that there is so many of you who understands these markets really, really well. So now let's take one step further, right? So we talked about banking, we talked about savings accounts, assets, liabilities, we talked about secondary market transactions like stocks, bonds, derivatives, but there's more than that. Where you get into commodity futures, you then look at asset liability mismatches according to the risk profile of the clients and then give them more structured solutions like private equity, private debt, right? There are also other specific type of accounts which are called as alts or alternative investments. And that's the plethora of financial transactions or financial instruments that a complex financial system deals with. Where does BNY come into picture? You would have heard of investment banks, you would have heard of retail banks. Retail banks are institutions that you see on the street. You can go into them, ask for a ledger entry, you can open a savings bank account and all of that. Investment banks are where the same bank that you go in, there's a first floor which says private wealth management and so on and so forth. So you can do all of those things. All of these banks then require a trusted player, a trusted global player who can stay in the financial ecosystem and meet their lending borrowing needs. They also need a player who they can trust for safekeeping of these assets with a third-party organization. So let's take some examples. Let's take any bank in any country. Typical asset liability mismatch or difference between the number of assets that they have and number of liabilities that they have would run into multiple $1 billion. So they need somebody to both advise them as well as take the risk for custodying their assets as well as their asset liability mismatch in terms of securitized instruments. It might sound a little Greek and Latin. I'll come to what each of that means. That's where BNY comes in. So BNY is the largest custodian in the world. We take care of $52 trillion worth of assets under custody at this point of time. To give you a sense of what $52 trillion means, take a guess. What's India's GDP? And we covered this in the earlier session. So it's quite possible some of you might know those things or just by general knowledge. Anybody knows India's GDP? Okay. Somebody is very close to that. 3.5 is a fairly accurate number. Those numbers keep switching a little bit here and there. $3.5 trillion is a fairly close answer. We are aspirational to get to $5 trillion in a few years, which I'm confident we'll get to. Ours is an amazing country, growing economy and all of that. So let's say in a few years' time, India will get to $5 trillion of GDP. What is GDP? Gross domestic product. All the assets in the country, everything, minus all the liabilities, gets us the gross domestic product, right? That's $5 trillion. Same number for the United States of America, approximately $20 trillion. The amount of custody money that BNY holds at this point of time, $52.1 trillion. Gives you a sense of what is our position in the marketplace. Another statistic, and I said this in the morning, but I'll reiterate. If the total number of transactions that are going on in the globe on a daily basis is X, let's just say X is a number. Let's get to percent. If X is the total number of transactions that is happening globally on a daily basis, how much percentage of that is influenced by BNY in one way or the other? That number typically goes between 25% to 30%, which means between 1/4 to close to 1/3 of global transactions on an every single day basis, whether it's Asia Pac, Far East Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, North America, Europe, BNY plays a role, right? So BNY is an extremely important organization, large custody player, the largest custody player, which is why colloquially you will hear all of these banks talking about us as the bank of banks, right? That's how BNY is known in the global marketplace. We are the bank of banks. But what else do we do? How do we get that revenue? So BNY just doesn't do custody. We also do asset servicing. What that means is some of the largest wealth managers in the world, asset managers in the world, rely on us for servicing their assets, right? So we are an asset servicing organization, large asset servicing organization across the globe. But the list doesn't end there. We also are a wealth manager. We're also an investment manager. What is investment management? Custody is to safekeep your assets. Investment management is to grow your assets or hopefully grow your assets while also safekeeping them. What is the kind of money that we take care in terms of investment management? About $2.1 trillion. Again, large sums of money, and investors trust us. The key word here is trust. Why do I focus on trust? Take a case of generational money moving from one generation to another, right? Typically, there are family offices who would entrust the money of large financial organizations, or let's just say wealthy individuals who have discretionary money with them. Family offices typically look at long-term commitment. I'll give you a sense of our average family office association over a period of time, 110 years, right? Take some time to sink that number. 110 years, a single family office is associated with BNY through multiple generations without changing their partner. The reason is because we define what it means by trust in the financial ecosystem. That's who we are. In addition, apart from being a 240-year-old organization, so our organization was founded by Alexander Hamilton, also one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. If at any point of time you see the musical Hamilton, which is available on multiple platforms on that, it's the same Alexander Hamilton who also was the founding father of BNY, right? The reason I say that is typically with 240 years of history, one would sort of look at BNY as an organization which has rich culture, which has rich legacy, but probably is not moving as fast as possible. Absolutely not true. We are also on the forefront of innovation. So talk about cryptocurrency. It's not a new phenomena, but it's been a phenomena where you have to have a lot of mining power that is required to have these assets created. Digital assets. Cryptocurrency is just one of them. Central bank digital currency, which multiple countries have now launched, is also another digital asset. How do these assets get legitimized? Because otherwise, these assets are just tokens. They are tokens in a wallet kept somewhere in a private vault. And you would have all heard about instances where somebody forgot the key to the vault. And what happens then? Poof, it's just lost. So there's a big requirement to legitimize these digital assets. Who is the first company to legitimize these digital assets and create a central custody platform for them in the world? So I'm seeing murmurs, which should gradually get to roars. It is BNY, right? Which was the first company to get listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Good. So now I'll stop asking the questions. The answer to whatever questions you hear from here on is BNY. Okay? So be sure, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm talking to a group of individuals who, some of who we want to have with our organization, such that we can create more such stories when we are back to other campuses in 5 years' time or 10 years' time. So what is the opportunity that I'm talking about? Is to work with an organization which is global in nature, which has a rich tradition of trust, client obsession, making sure that we are handling clients' money safely and we are growing clients' money wherever our clients are entrusting in us, but also being on the forefront of cutting-edge innovation. And we'll talk about some of that. Lavanya has just changed the slides to talk about, again, these numbers are amazing because they tell you the kind of impact that we have on the financial ecosystem, right? Lavanya, let's keep going. So if we can change to the next slide. Can we change to the next? Thank you. And then another big list of accomplishments, which I'll let you just read. There's no point me reading through this. Just spend like a few seconds understanding what BNY does, because that's very important. I'm also going to now engage part of the sound ecosystem, which I want my team to add to the special effects. I love this. This is great. Let's keep scrolling to the next one. Can you still all hear me? Okay. You know the reason why I'm here? Because I'm going to get some of you to volunteer and ask questions. And you know where I used to sit when I was in college? The last row. So now you know there was a design in inviting some of you to the first row. Right? There's always a design. Highlighted awards and indices. Again, not just in terms of the work that we do and the innovation that we bring on, but in terms of genuinely a company, a workplace that people perceive to be a good place to work, where we are taking care of human rights, gender equality, Russell Index, which also talks about multiple other initiatives that we do for sustainability and belonging and inclusion. So an organization which talks about these principles, but also lives by them is BNY. So let's understand a little bit more now from an engineering standpoint and what we do and how does that affect the marketplace. So if we can get to the next one. Yeah. So this one tells you on the left-hand side, these are the different areas which are our revenue generators. So I told you about asset management, which is the investment management arm, banks, broker-dealers, corporations, governments, sovereigns. These are all the different types of clients that we serve, that we work with. And our solutions, 4 broad solutions are on the right-hand side, which talk about security servicing, investment management, where we have more than 7 or 8 different fund families. Each fund family talks about a different kind of solution. So let's say somebody wants to do passive investing, and hopefully I can use those words. I see that all of you are a very financially literate crowd. Everybody understands what is passive investing? Raise your hands if you understand what is passive investing. Okay, not very many, and some of you are raising half hands, which means you're not sure what passive indexing is. Passive investment is essentially following an index. How many of you know about the Sensex or the Nifty? Glad almost everybody does. So if I create an index which essentially follows the Sensex or the Nifty, and all I work on is a tracking error, and all of you should understand statistical deviation between one slope line and the other slope line, that's essentially tracking error. So as long as I manage the tracking error, I'm following the index. If the index does better, the fund that is following that index does better. Right? That's passive fund investing. BNY has at least 2 to 3 different fund management strategies, which are the largest in that particular category for passive fund investing. We also have an active fund strategy where fund managers are specifically focused on LATAM markets, Far East Asia markets, as well as Southeast Asia and emerging markets. We also have strategies that specifically focus on bonds, commodities, and so on and so forth. That's our investment management division. Market and wealth services I talked about. And this is where engineering innovation really starts. So very recently, we unveiled a tech startup or a tech startup within BNY called Pershing X. And we actually have 2 gentlemen who closely work with Pershing X and Pershing that we'll talk about. Maharajan, if you can just stand up and raise your hand. Please give a big round of applause for Maha. as well as Vikrant Kulkarni. Vikrant also works on a platform called Wove. If you search on any search engine that you want to, you will realize that Wove is something that we are now advertising as the single institutional platform for wealth management advisors across the United States and other areas to use for their wealth management services. And we also have Hardik Desai, who's also a designer, architect, and developer who's working on these platforms. So suffice to say that across all of these different entities, engineering plays a vital role, because gone are the days when people are using any other mechanism, not calculators, not Excel sheets. It's all happening through high-end designed system. And what I mean by that is not just using algorithms to complete that, but also have a lot of emphasis on the quality and the metrics around data. So again, without any further embarrassment, Ramesh Ranganathan, if you can stand up and raise your hand. Ramesh is not just the data architect for the larger BNY divisions, and he's based in Pune, but he's also actively involved in the strategy around data rationalization for the firm. And all of them will be talking a little bit about each of their roles. The reason all of this is important is because the hires of the future are people who are going to work on applied technology than technology alone. So where does this differ? And we have multiple examples to talk about that. If there is a new problem statement now, our programmers, our developers are not writing boilerplate code. They're not opening a programming language integrated development editor and starting to code from scratch. They're not also using open source libraries. They're not also using search engine given codes. They're also not using generative AI created codes, right? So how are they doing it? It's almost like Lego blocks. So think about applied technology as a combination of really rich Lego blocks. I'm making an assumption here that all of you know what Lego blocks are, right? So a Lego block in this case is something that does a definite unit of work in the financial ecosystem, has the right kind of interfaces and APIs, and is self-sufficient. So the technologist of the future is somebody who can easily connect these Lego blocks and create an architectural pattern soon, right? That's the kind of technologist that we are looking for when we come to institutions like yourself, okay? So let me wind this up. It sort of hopefully has given you a story about, I'm not going to walk there, a story that connects the dots in terms of what we do, the need for engineering talent, and the kind of work that we do in India. Most of our development centers are focused on 3 or 4 geographies. So we have development centers in New York, Jersey City. We also have development centers in Florida, which is Lake Mary. We have development centers in London, and then Chennai and Pune. Right? So those are our key development centers. We also have a few development centers in Pittsburgh and Poland and Wroclaw, but Pune and Chennai is about 30% of our global workforce and expanding. This is what we also call our strategic growth locations. So with that, what is the kind of talent that we are looking at, and what are the different opportunities that we have with BNY? So 2 different streams. One is internship, and the second is full-time hiring directly from campus. So those are the 2 levers that we have. And again, on different years, we will use either one lever, both the levers, or one of the 2 levers. Right? So we'll calibrate it accordingly. We'll work with the campuses, and we'll make sure that we hire the best talent. How do we do that? Again, not very different from what you have seen in other organizations. We have something called as a machine-graded programming test, which will first test you for your algorithms and data structures. Then we have at least 2 rounds of deep technical interviews, and then a professional fitment interview, which all, if you clear, then you get into BNY, right? So that hopefully simplifies the entire journey of who we are, what we do, what are our revenue sources, and what role does engineering play into the overall ecosystem. Okay, with that, I'm going to take a pause. Lavanya, if you want to keep scrolling some of the slides, which talk about our strategic pillars and principles. These are extremely important because they are the base on which we design solutions for our clients. So I'll leave them there so that all of you get an opportunity to read through that while my panelists introduce and talk a little bit about themselves. So without much ado, can I request all my panelists to get on the stage and speak a little bit about themselves? While you're all getting there, what the last slide shows you is, again, no surprise. I think the narrative is very clear. All work and no play makes Jack, Jill, whatever you choose, a dull boy or a dull girl. And what we're trying to do is create different opportunities by way of which either it's giving back to the community or just having some fun. We do that too, right? And so for those of you who are absolutely passionate to see how technology can be used to make a differential change in the way the financial ecosystem works, and hopefully work with really, really talented colleagues who will challenge you on a day-to-day basis, and together, all of us will grow further. Please look at BNY and understand what are the different opportunities further. With that, Ramesh, if you want to get us started, thank you.
Hey, hello, hi. Thanks, Suswa. That was a fantastic presentation that you gave, and especially post-lunch, right? And I saw everyone awake and glued to what you were speaking. So thank you so much, Suswa. So this is Ramesh Ranganathan, and I head the data management space in BNY Mellon in India. What we do, right? I think Suswa talked about 240 years of legacy, okay? And we have been there for quite some time. And over these years, we have been accumulating data, huge sorts of data, right? Starting with Excel sheets, Access database, multiple silos, acquisitions, mergers, new banks coming in. So we have a complete range of data sets and kind of silos of databases everywhere. So as part of data engineering, what we're doing is kind of consolidating all the databases into one single ecosystem. We have the Lake program that is going on. We're building the foundational blocks of data, and then also sending the same thing to AI, right? I mean, with the new platform that is coming up with Eliza within BNY Mellon, we're ensuring that the data sets that have been presented to Eliza are up to the mark. The quality is definitely good, and our team works day in and day out to ensure that we have good predictive analytics as well as LLM systems that are there working on, right? So that's what I do, and my team, we're looking forward to having good data engineers as well as AI specialists in our teams. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Over to Vikrant.
Hey, hi everyone. Am I audible?
And by the way, that's Hardik.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hardik Desai. I work as a solution architect in the WoW platform, primarily managing the wealth advisors to do more for our clients. This is a new platform which Suswa touched upon. And as I said, it is touching a lot of advisors who are helping our clients to grow their money. In order to build this type of platform, it requires a lot of technical expertise as well as functional expertise. So my job as a solution architect is kind of full stack across all the SDLC cycles, right from understanding the requirements, designing the right solution, using cutting edge technologies like Java, Python, AI, data structures, MongoDB, everything end to end. On the UI front, we have cutting edge technologies like Angular, which helps our customers to use our system in an efficient manner. In order to efficiently manage the system, it is also necessary to design it in a way that we can scale it to multiple number of clients. It should be performant, it should be resilient, and on top of it, it should also be secure. So while designing the systems, it is equally important that we take care of all the aspects of really resilient software systems. The other salient feature of the platform is rebalancing and trading. And I'm sure since a lot of you have raised hands in doing trading, I'm sure you would have also heard about algorithmic trading, right? How many of you have heard about it? Or have you developed any algorithm yourself to do auto trading? Any of you? Okay, so it's kind of algorithm which basically picks a client portfolio, do some magic on the algorithms, and do auto trading for them in order to manage their manage their wealth efficiently. So that is one other important aspect which our platform is doing. So yeah, that's it from my side, and I'll hand it over to Vikrant.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Vikrant Kulkarni. I think Hardik touched upon the Wove platform. As part of my role, I'm leading the Wove platform team in India, and I'm also part of the solution architecture group for this platform. So he touched upon so many technologies that we use within the platform. It's more than 40 technologies that we use. But one of the key things is, as part of building this platform, we've already won so many awards on the Wall Street, right? Within the first 2 years. Now, this platform is one of its first kind that no one in the world has built, which supports you to see your accounts across multiple other banks. Right? Imagine you have an account with, say, SBI, ICICI, and HDFC, and individually you will have to log in into all these 3 accounts and manage your portfolios. Our platform can support all of those accounts together, and you can take decisions for all of them in one go. We are supporting millions of accounts on the platform, and we are the first ones to have our entire platform, be it UI, be it service layer, be it data layer, everything is on the cloud, right? And that's one of the first of its kind, where at this scale, we are able to leverage the cloud technology. And we are using all the aspects that Ramesh was talking about from an AI perspective. I also wanted to touch upon some other aspects around how BNY helps whilst doing all of these amazing innovative things on the technology side. It also helps you for your own career building, right? I've done my MBA, I'm pursuing a PhD with IIM Lucknow, and I'm able to do all of that with working within BNY. So BNY fosters and supports a lot of learning culture. We have some amazing things that we've got on our learning platform, be it Udemy, be it Coursera, you name it, and it's there. It can just help you on your own self-learning whilst contributing to all the platforms that we're working on. So with that, I'll hand over to Maha, who can share more insights of some of the amazing work that he's doing.
Thank you, Vikrant. So to some of you, maybe, you might already know me, because last month, I've been here for for the Technish event, and I did, deliver a small keynote session to some of the folks out here. So my name is Maharajan Muthuswamy, and I have the privilege of, associated with BNY for the past 20 plus years. And I also have the privilege of, looking through the company. Company has been going through a lot of mergers, not just in terms of business, but also in terms of technology transformations, and what BNY does, right, in terms of technology, and what it has for young minds, like you. It's a great journey. From my experience, I'm saying, this is a very, very, great journey that somebody can experience and feel, what is in for you, right? So that's what BNY is. And what I'm doing today, I started off, as a mobile applications developer. And then, at some point in time, we took pride in building monolithic applications, thick client applications, desktop-based applications. And then, there's always pros and cons of, building different, kind of applications. So now, we are slowly transforming ourselves towards, time to market. How do we make, time to market, very lesser, so that, we can reach the market and, our customers really faster, rather than, still sticking to the same concept of, building monolithic applications and taking so much of time for delivering our, solutions to our customers. So as we speak, I'm predominantly into applications development on web, platform, like what, Vikrant said. We work, together on, the Wove platform, and, we already have a client-facing platform called NetX 360, and that's on, web, .NET, thick client application, mobile, as well as, we have, I don't know how many of you have heard of this, IVR systems. So voice-based, trading is something, that we already have with BNY. And these are all some of the applications, that I manage from BNY. And I'm also into a small crowdsource group that does something called, emerging technology, proof of concepts on emerging technology. So this is also I'm part of. So that's it about me. Thanks.
Thank you, Maha. Malvika?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Malvika Singh. I lead campus recruiting for India. I've had the opportunity to get the brightest of minds to BNY to make sure we're able to achieve our objectives, goals together, help make money work for the world. That's what we make sure that we do. It's been a great journey. I'm also part of WetNet, as Suswa said. We at BNY, you've read about all the accolades. We're very happy that this year we also got Most Trusted Award from IIT Guwahati. Apart from that, our summer internship program is recognized worldwide for the work that we've done in terms of summer internship space. I know a lot of you got a chance to work with us, and we look forward that you're going to be here with us as full-time joinees. And we look forward that the ones who took the pain of coming from the back seat to the front seat definitely show that motivation. So we are definitely going to look forward and see how many of you all bump into us in the corridors of BNY Mellon. So yeah, that's what we do. We're very excited, and we are hoping to get some tough questions away from all of you. So we'll open it up for question answers as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. One of the other observations, slightly on a lighter note, is we continue to work with our software vendors. One of the work that we still have to do, and it is work in progress, is the entire voice to text that you saw. It did generate some hilarious messages. I'm sure some of you at least noticed that. Anyways, thank you for being a patient audience. We are open to questions. My entire panel is with me. Lavanya, if you want to come out and also say hello to everybody, that will be great. She's been patiently taking care of the slides in the background. Thanks once again. We're open for questions. And thank you for giving the opportunity to be here. It's a wonderful campus, and it's a wonderful experience being in front of all of you. Any questions? Okay, we seem to have our first one. Is there a microphone that we can hand over to her? It's coming. Here, second row.
So my question is to Ramesh sir. So I wanted to know what are the reasons behind choosing early age program, ELIZA, instead of using state-of-art models that we have right now. So.
Sure, thank you for the question. So first of all, right, we are in a finance industry, and it's a very highly regulated space, right? We have to work with regulators and compliance. So our customer data, okay, whatever data is there, customers or whatever information that we have is highly regulated. So we, within the bank itself, are not allowed to kind of publish our data to the outside models, right? We can definitely integrate with ChatGPT or whatever the new models are, but we are limited with that. So we cannot directly expose our data. And that is the reason what we have done as an industry is we have created our own platform within the BNY, call it ELIZA, and we have integrated with certain LLM packages within our platform, right? So the data doesn't go out of our network, and at the same time, we get the benefits of having a particular ELIZA platform, which is an AI-built solution, okay? So what we have done right now is ELIZA helps employees internally to kind of ask questions. We have automated chatbots. We can create agents which can actually, kind of parse documents and kind of have an auto response for that, right? So we have an elaborate system that is built called ELIZA, for which we don't even have to depend on outside networks as of now, okay? So contract management, n number of pages, 80 pages, 100 pages document, right? We don't want to go through them manually, right? It's a completely, manual or a labor task. That's what we do. We create agents within ELIZA, and that can summarize the document for us. That's one. RFP responses, right? There are some questions which are typical questions. We can respond to those questions using ELIZA platform, right? And similarly, there are some models which we have built for predictive analytics, like where can we park our money, which we said, we have our clients, how can we do predict some trade failures that's going to happen, right? So these are some of the things that we have built within our ELIZA platform. And that is continuing on that internal thing. Does it answer your question?
But great question. I'll only add that back to my analogy of the Lego blocks. The ELIZA platform is actually built on GPT-4 and Mistral. So we again use the same Lego concept to sort of say we'll get the best of what is available in the marketplace and design a solution that works for us. What is more interesting is that, and this is not public news as much as we would like to advertise, because we want to start slow and actually make a dent in the marketplace before we talk about, but we are one of the first financial organizations or fintech organizations that invested in an NVIDIA superpod, right? So we have an NVIDIA superpod internally within our data centers. And that's an investment that BNY made about 1 year back. And we are getting returns on that investment in multiple ways, some of the examples that Ramesh talked about, but also forecasting. So we are looking at client portfolios, and based on the drawdowns, structural changes between the client portfolio and the underlying index that the client portfolio is built on, we are suggesting what are the potential risk scenarios that the client might come in. And the entire verbiage that is generated for our sales teams is currently getting generated out of ELIZA. So I think it's an exciting area that we will continue to do research on, but we'll also be very careful that it stays within all of the ethical constructs and it does meet the compliance and legal guidelines of the organization. Once again, great question. Thank you. Big round of applause. Thanks a lot. Any other questions?
Sorry, can I just add one more
Please,
point?
Vikrant, go ahead.
I think to that point that both of Ramesh and Suswar mentioned, I think there's one good news that I would like to share. One of your seniors, her name is Richa Kumari. I don't know how many of you know her. She's actually working on the ELIZA platform and has been doing great stuff. On the ELIZA platform, look at it as like a menu card where all the state-of-art models are available to use. Any vendor you talk about, be it OpenAI, Google, Meta, all of those models are available for us to use. But in cases where, like Ramesh was saying, there's sensitive data, we have our in-house model too. But wherever the data is not sensitive, it is public information and we want to do some interesting AI work, we are actually using all the state-of-art models. So look at ELIZA as a menu card where everything is available at your disposal. Okay.
And there itself, you've got 3 different versions of what ELIZA can do. So thank you once again. Any other questions? We'll probably take 1 or 2 because I know we are in paucity of time.
One person there on the third row.
Okay. Can we just give the mic to him?
So my question is to Vikrant sir. What are the main architectures that ELIZA works on? The main AI architectures?
So in terms of ELIZA, actually it all started with leveraging all the Gen AI models, right? But then soon we realized Gen AI is quite probabilistic in nature. And in terms of whatever business problems that we have to solve, and we are dealing with people's money, right? Probabilistic measures cannot help. So we have got both design patterns where we get into probabilistic nature, where it is okay for us to say, hey, with 95% accuracy, we're able to solve your problem. But in most cases, because there's money involved, we need to go to deterministic measures too. And in those architecture designs, we are using all sorts of RNNs, CNNs, all the deep learning design patterns that we know of in combination with Gen AI. And look at ELIZA not just as an AI platform, but like Suswar said, with NVIDIA supercomputer, we are also tying the power of immense data that we have as world's biggest custodian and started to generate insights from all the data to get more revenue or reduce the cost of our operations or reduce the risk so that we've been here for 240 years, we can continue to go strong in the future.
And by the way, when we are saying that, I think it's with a lot of humility because standing here in this esteemed institution, we are aware that two of India's biggest supercomputers are actually here. You'll have to help me with the name, but I think one was 2016, Param, and the next was 2022. And just getting to know the number of teraflops that each supercomputer can handle, that's impressive. So we say all of this with humility. Our NVIDIA SuperPod is nowhere match to what your institution has here in Guwahati. But thank you. That's a great question. Anybody else? One last question? Okay,
Yeah,
we have one there. Okay, go ahead.
Can someone please pass the mic to him? Oh, there's one more question there. I think he's going to go there and then come.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, and
Hi.
thank you for being here, sir. So I'm Mayank Chaurasia. I am from Department of Design, and my question is about what designers can contribute into financial sector and what kind of work should be putting on, and what we as a designer can contribute in your organization.
Absolutely, that's a great question, and I'm very glad that you asked that. First of all, big round of applause. I always like good questions coming in. So we actually have a Center of Design Practice in BNY. I should have mentioned about it in my presentation, which is called the UX Design Practice, but it also has multiple components. So a lot of software that you saw we mentioning about, whether it's trading platforms, whether it is intergenerational wealth management platforms and all of that, require a rich UX design, require a rich UI design framework that makes sure that it all integrates together within the overall BNY ecosystem. So we actually have a pretty formidable family of UX, UI designers, in addition to just generic component designers who help us design components. And the life cycle has changed from looking at design as an component of software design to looking at design as a component of product design. And since you are from that background, I'm sure you understand the change that is happening here, software to product. But great question. Thank you.
Hey, Suswar, I just want to add
Please,
one more
please.
thing, right? Great. I think that's a great question from a design perspective. And if you look at innovation, right? I mean, 240 years, we've all been thinking about, as technology guys, right? I can create a screen, I can have a button here, I can have a text box here, right? So the technology guys always think kind of, what the functionality does. The business will think what the business value is all about. But recently, right, as Suswar mentioned, we have introduced the UI UX COE. Okay, we also have appointed a head of data design itself, right? Design chief. And he explained very clearly, right? Apple and Samsung, right? I think Apple is famous because of the design, right? It's intuitive, it's customer friendly. It kind of attracts the market. Probably Samsung is even better, but then in the design, Apple wins sometime or the other, right? So in the financial industry, be it a UI application, be it the way we communicate with customers or internally, I think the design practice is going to play a key role. And we are kind of getting our UI UX people, design people in our pods, right? The agile pods that we're building, we're going to have design guides inside us. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. I think we'll take one last question and then, so there was one last question, I think the fourth row. Please go ahead.
He's here, yeah, on the fourth row.
Go ahead. Yes. Great question. Great question. So again, it's a pretty philosophical question. I'll let Maha as well as Vikrant chime in. But very quickly, the analogy of a startup within the organization is not combative or conflicting. It's actually complementing. So we have Pershing, which is an entity that generates for us more than $2.7 billion in annualized revenue. So fantastic revenue model. And it's one of the largest clearing agents in all of United States. We wanted to make sure that we move on from here because I'm going to use euphemism and philosophy here. There's a great book which says what got you here is not what is going to get you there, right? So we're already at a peak. Now we want to find the next peak. And we heard both from Vikrant as well as Maha how the Wove platform, which is a product of the new startup, has created us a new peak to conquer. So we are now talking about multi-custody platforms. How can we get the wealth managers together and simplify their ecosystem. So the creation of the startup was a complementary process to get more innovation out of the same team that works on Pershing. But great question. I'm glad you asked that. With that, let me call it a close because I know we are short of time. Thank you once again for being a patient audience and best wishes. Thank you again.